Welcome to the Caregiver Relief Podcast, where we bring together experts, advocates, and compassionate voices to support caregivers on every step of their journey. I'm your host, Diane Carbo, RN. Today's episode is one that speaks to the heart of caregiving and to the human experience we all share. This episode is sponsored by myvitalvault.net, your all-in-one life organizer for aging adults and caregivers. It's designed to help you securely store your essential legal, medical, and emergency information in one easy-to-access place. Because when a crisis hits, being prepared can make all the difference. Join our Caregiver Relief community, a warm, welcoming space where you can connect with other caregivers, ask questions, share stories, and find support from people who truly understand. Visit community.caregiverrelief.com to join now, because caregiving is one of the hardest and most meaningful things you'll ever do, and no one should have to do it alone. And if this episode speaks to you, please take a moment to like, share, or comment. Every click helps us reach more caregivers who need encouragement, resources, and hope. I'm honored to welcome Dr. John Horton, a physician, hospice co-founder, educator, and co-author of Good to Go, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Dr. Horton brings a rare blend of medical insight, spiritual depth, and life experience to a conversation that many shy away from. How to face death with peace, say goodbye with grace, and live fully in the time we have. With a career that has spanned continents, cultures, and clinical care from rural African villages to California hospice homes, Dr. Horton has dedicated his life to helping others understand the beauty and the importance of dying well. So whether you're a family caregiver, an aging adult, or simply someone who wants to prepare for life's final chapter, today's conversation will offer comfort, wisdom, and clarity. Dr. Horton, thanks for spending some of your time with us today and sharing your knowledge. I really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks so much, Diane. I hope I can live up to all your praise.
I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
More.
Thank you.
You've lived such an extraordinary life across cultures and continents. Can you share a moment or experience that shaped how you view death and dying?
I would be glad to. In fact, this is in the book I wrote. This is one of the episodes. So here I am. I've just finished my internship, and I've decided to take a little time off to recover from a very difficult internship year, which is a story for another time. But during that year, it's apropos because I was very stressed by all the deaths that were occurring in Cisco General Hospital in 1970, which were unnecessary because we had lack of supplies, lack of nursing care, lack of ancillary care. We went on strike for 3 days just to get those things, which the city had promised and had never delivered. And the strike got destroyed quickly by the powers that be. And the rest of the year after Christmas, it was just all these deaths. You'd admit someone, in the afternoon and sign out in the evening, come back in the morning, and the person would be gone. What happened? And the nurses would go, we don't know. And we knew that they just were overextended. They weren't able to provide the care, and the city didn't want to hire more nurses. So it was really difficult. So I took some time off, ended up going to India for a great adventure in medicine and my own self-development. So there I am in India. I've only been there like a week. And I'm in a large conference center, outdoor conference center in the middle of Delhi. And there's a lot of people there to hear this great teacher. So I'm on the stage with other Westerners being treated as great guests in India in 1970. And I get tapped on the shoulder. And someone says, "Doctor, come." So I hadn't identified as a doctor. I don't know how they knew I was a doctor. It's an Indian man, thick accent. So all of a sudden, I'm walking back from the stage where the teacher is speaking, way back where there's a lot of tents and food facilities. A lot of people are just staying there for 2 or 3 days. It's an outdoor camping situation. And a lot of people, it's India. And we come to this, I'm just following. I don't know what's happening. But having been just an intern, when someone says, doctor, come, you go. You don't think, you just go. So there I am following and wondering what in the world is going on. And we get there, and there's this man amidst many in this tent, maybe 20 people there, and there's a person on the ground lying there, not moving. And I'm panicking. It's, what am I going to do? I'm in the middle. Okay. So I go over and I kneel down next to the man, no pulse, no breath, and he's already getting stiff. So this guy has been dead for a while. So in one way, I'm relieved. I don't have to do anything. But I'm also, in my head, there's all this craziness going on. What did you do wrong, John? Why did this person die? This is not San Francisco General Hospital. This is the grounds in India. And I'm not responsible for anything here. And so the people are looking at me, and I say he's dead. And they will not just, what did he die from? So this is my first experience in the innocent, childlike curiosity of Indian people. They just want to know what he died from. So they get this doctor, his Western doctor, and they, can we do an autopsy? Shall we send them for an autopsy? And I realize this is absurd. So I look at them and I smile, and they're smiling. No one's really upset. They just want to know, what did he die from? So I go, heart attack. Heart attack. Circulates among the group. Heart attack. Now everyone's very happy with me. And I just,
I know something.
and I look at them, I go, why are you so happy? Your friend, or your just died. Because I've never been around anyone dying where people weren't freaking out. One way or another.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just go, and they look at me and they smile. He goes, he was here among his family and friends. He was listening to his teacher talk about life, and it's a good place to die. So now I'm walking away. I'm walking back to the stage, and in my head's exploding. It's like a good place to die. That, to me, that doesn't compute. There is nothing good about death, okay? I've been in medical school where there was no conversations about death, where no one said anything. It was just, okay, pick up the pieces and go to the next, okay? And get an autopsy and find out if we made a mistake. It was like a good place to die. Good and death, those didn't go together for me at all. So it was very challenging. But as I was walking back, I started to feel a great deal of relief from a lot of just anxiety and fear around death. It had just been part and parcel of my medical education, and particularly in the internship, it got worse. And it was like, So that was the beginning of a change. And then towards the end of my time in India, I stayed with some people on a houseboat on the Ganges River in Varanasi, which used to be called Benares. Benares is a very beautiful city in northern India. And this is where people go to be there for their last days, because it's a holy place and it's a good place to die.
Beautiful.
And so, geez, there's a lot of people that are in some stage of dying, and that's okay with everybody. And being on that houseboat was right in front of the burning ghats, where they put the bodies and wood fires. And so day and night, we're watching these burning ghats. And for me, it was like, took me to a different place of, okay, there's life, and then there's death. They're part of the natural scope of human life, and nothing horrible about it in itself. But how we die, what happens to us on our last days, as you well know, that can be really bad.
Exactly. My experience with death started very young. I come from a big dysfunctional Irish family, and one Irish American.
I think a dysfunctional Irish family is redundant.
I experienced death at a very early age. My grandmother died. My grandmother, my mom's mom, died when I was 7. And the same year, one of my classmates, Joey Buffo, died. And I can remember he lived in my neighborhood. He lived around the block. And I literally, in those days, they were Italian. They had him, what we call, laid out at home. they had visitation at home. So here, there's this little boy in a casket in the living room. And people were, they even had, oh my God, I was by myself because I told my mom, it's Joey, I can go over. Mrs. Buffalo will be fine. There are other kids in the class will be there. They had professional mourners. Oh my Lord. And I thought, and I was just devastated. I didn't feel bad for Joey. I felt bad for his parents. He was their only child. And the same with
Yeah.
my grandfather. So,
Mm.
and the Irish, we celebrate life after death. Not my family in the way that they do maybe in Ireland where they get the corpse up and they sit him at the bar, but we're close. So my experience with death and dying was so different, but I love how your experience transformed you. Now, you often speak about dying, and what does that mean to you, and why is it important for individuals and families to understand this concept?
That's the $64,000 question, so to speak, is that no, because my response to that is why not? Why should it be a miserable, excuse my language, why should it be a show when
Exactly.
someone dies? Come on. On the other end, when people are born, all we're doing is there to celebrate. And when the first breath comes, we all sigh in relief and we're happy. And I've seen, and you have too, deaths where the last breath, which, is the opposite of the first breath, you breathe in, you breathe out, and no more in breath.
Yes.
And I've seen this, and I felt and seen the stillness. In fact, you would like this. When I've done trainings for hospice volunteers, I ask this question. I say, so how many, three questions. So how many of you have been present at a birth? And raise your hands. There is it. How many of you have been present at a death? They raise their hands. Now, this is for those of you that raised your hands on both occasions. And I want you just to stop. And this is not a thoughtful question. This is a feeling question.
Okay.
What's the feeling like at the birth and at the death? The feeling, not the thoughts, the feeling. And you see this little smile among those people that raised their hands for both.
Yes.
And it's, yeah, you've just experienced something that's completely beyond comprehension.
Yes.
Life begins. Life in that body begins. Life in that body ends. And there's something amazing about life that you feel. So why not feel that feeling of life? And it's a peaceful feeling. It's a simple, joyful feeling. It's not exuberant, jumping up and down, but it's simple, joyful feeling. And we treasure those moments when we feel close to life.
I'm going to share a story about my dad. My dad was a letter carrier in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was a twin. He was the married twin. The other one slept around and had all kinds of women till his 50s. My Uncle Larry, he led a good life. Anyway, my dad, because we had 4 kids and he sent me to Catholic school and stuff, he was very good with his money. So as he got older, he invested in a timeshare in Hawaii. And every other year, he would save his time from the year before, and he would put 6 weeks together to go to Hawaii. That was luxury. God bless him. And that was his favorite place. He gets diagnosed. He has a Whipple procedure in the hospital because he was having problems, and it was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And it's in, I think it's September, October, November, around that time. And the doctor says to him, Lee, we have to put you on hospice. We consider you should be put on hospice. Now, this is in the 80s. And the first thing out of my dad's mouth is not shock or sadness. I think sometimes people know that they're not. And he goes, oh my gosh, that means I'm not going to get to go to Hawaii. And here I am, this cocky older daughter, the oldest daughter, saying, Dad, you're not dead yet. If we can get you to Hawaii if you're well enough. Go. I said, if you die there, is that going to be a bad thing? And because I'm so open about it. And he goes, no. And I want you to know, I said, you have to live life the best you can. And if this is what you can do, then let's make it happen. And in those days, hospice would take you and let you do those kinds of things. I'm sure they don't anymore. But he went to Hawaii for 6 weeks. The first week on hospice, they took him off because he was his soul regenerated. He renewed. He had a spiritual renewal, I say. The day before he was coming home, he didn't feel well. And he came home and he died a month later. But he was laid out. I laugh because my dad, he was laid out or for visitation in a Hawaiian shirt and lei.
Well, good.
But you know
For
what?
sure.
That's why I tell people how important it is to hospice can give you the opportunity to live your life to the fullest up until the very end. You have control. So
Yes.
I've embraced that concept since I was young. And I guess it's because of my life experiences, but
Good for you. You're comfortable. So let me go over these 5 understandings. You know
okay,
them.
great.
You've lived them, okay? Number
Yes.
1 is to accept that you're going to die, okay? Because if you don't accept it, if you're scared, if you're intimidated, if you're just not able to accept it, then you're going to be stressed. And when you're stressed, you're going to be in the stress system. You know about the system. We all know about this system, but just to remind us of it, it's so in the stress system, everyone knows fight, flight.
Yes.
So people want to fight death forever. I'm never going to die and blah, blah, blah. Yes, you are. Excuse me. You are.
Yeah.
Or flee. I'm not. No, I'm going somewhere else in my head. Okay.
Yep.
So denial. And then there's freezing, the other stress reaction, just shutting down. And some people do that. They just crawl into themselves and they're not going to come out. That's not going to allow them to enjoy or learn anything in their last days, weeks, hours. So accepting, number 1. And it's not easy. Look, when I talk about hospice things over the years, I've always start with a quote from George Burns, who said that death has been around for a long time, but it's never gained in popularity.
I love George Burns.
Yeah. So let's accept that. Okay. It's not popular, but hey, it's going to happen. Second thing is you can do it your way, like your dad, but you need encouragement. Like you encouraged your dad. Hey, let's go to Hawaii. Okay. If you die there, what's the big deal? Once you die, it doesn't
I
matter where
wasn't the
you.
one that went with them. So I didn't win on that part.
So do it your way. You don't have to conform to anyone's ideas. And that includes the medics who say, oh, we can keep you alive for another couple of months.
Yeah.
We can cut out this. And the studies have been done. And I'm sure you know this, Dr. Aycock did really good studies of palliative care versus intensive treatments of end-stage cancers and heart disease. And the people that just got comfort care, just were made comfortable, they lived longer than the people that,
Exactly.
and unfortunately, the medical environment makes more money doing stuff than not.
Yes.
So you got to be able to step back and say, no, what's the upside of doing this and what's the downside, and make a decision and trust your own instincts, your own wisdom, your own being, so to speak. Third is keep it simple. There's nothing complicated about dying. The things we do are complicated, but the event itself is not. And because of being a hospice nurse, that the body knows how to shut down selectively.
Yes.
Many people are very afraid. And I had a friend he's in the book. He was very afraid. When he was dying, he was going to suffocate. He was terribly afraid of suffocating. I said, no, actually, before the breathing slows, the heart's already gone and the brain is already gone. So you can be extremely peaceful as your breathing slows down and stops.
That's correct.
Yeah, you've seen that. And then the fourth thing is to resolve regrets. Okay. Take the time to resolve the regrets. Call your Uncle Charlie and say you're sorry for calling him an idiot. Call the kid that, you didn't understand and now you feel like you wish you understood. Call that kid. Tell him, I'm sorry, I didn't understand you. And let go of your bucket list. Okay, you're not going to climb Kilimanjaro. And then the fifth, which to me, really a lifelong process, is cultivate the peace. Cultivate that feeling of peace, because that'll be there. And you'll go with that.
Yes.
And I don't speculate on what happens after the last breath. I just don't.
I don't either. I think everybody has their own beliefs, and I respect whatever their beliefs are.
So those are the 5 understandings.
That's beautiful. That's
And I think that's all it takes to die peacefully with dignity.
That's a beautiful concept, dying with dignity. We have such a fear of death. One of the things I see a lot of is regret. It's something people carry at the end of their life. And what advice do you have for listeners, especially the caregivers out there who are struggling with guilt or unresolved feelings? Some caregivers feel guilt because they're praying that their loved one will pass. There's so many guilt feelings out there, but the people that are dying.
And so caregivers, okay, let's talk about caregivers.
Okay.
Because there's 2 different things, obviously, the person that's going and then
Yes.
the caregivers and the families. And so caregivers and families, there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens, doesn't it? There's a lot of different things that happen. But let's talk about some of the main ones that you and I have seen and how we have encouraged people to resolve those regrets. So the whole thing of, okay, you'll have to excuse me for this. It's not cynical. It's just practical. I do not think that you can pray to some power that's going to determine whether this person dies now or later.
Yes.
I don't think it's I want that power not keep everyone alive as much as possible.
Yes.
And I think that power does within us, with our own bodies.
Mhm.
And one of the things to die with dignity is to do your level best to beat any disease, to take your best shot at living as long as you can. And then
Exactly.
once you've taken that shot, and then the things are now, can't think of anything. No one around can think of anything. And then it becomes, we'll pray. Okay, fine. You want to pray? Pray. No problem. But don't expect results.
It's funny because I think prayer is.
But you got that.
Oh, I totally
Pray as much as you like. It's expressing feeling and so on, but don't expect results.
I have had 50 years of nursing, and throughout my whole life, I've heard people say, "Please let me die. Please let me die." And they do it for very long periods of time. They're ready to go, but God's not ready for them, or their bodies aren't shutting down. And then the other end of the spectrum is, "Please don't die. Please don't let them die. Please don't take them away from me." And I think it's just something that people have to do because they feel so helpless and hopeless, and they don't know what else to do. That's
So let's address that hopelessness and helplessness, because this is, again, where the profound wisdom of existence, there's a term now, I'm writing another book, and it's going to feature what's being called existential intelligence, understanding existence. And that understanding of existence is in feeling. And I think it was Einstein that said that you have to make a decision as to whether this existence is kind or not.
yes.
Kind or not. So if it's kind and you're saying, please don't take this person away from me, that's a little bit short-sighted.
Selfish.
I didn't say selfish. You said so.
I said selfish. I'll say it's one.
That's on you.
Place to me, please. Not Dr. John.
Yes, yeah. I'm not supposed to say that.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's fine. I agree. They call it short-sighted. Lack of understanding. Look, there's a life cycle. Come on. We're born. We're tiny infants. We don't know anything. We just know how to say gaga goo, and we start from very little, and then we have a life cycle. And yeah, for some people, it's over in a way before it began.
Yeah.
Your little classmate was 7 years old. Okay, he was here for 7 years, and that's that. We don't control that. We can certainly do our best. And this is the nobility of the medical profession, is let's find out how we can cure diseases that kill us early on. It's a noble venture and has paid off with lots of good results. But the actual looking for divine intervention, I'll tell you a story. This is one of the stories in the book. It's chronological. Yeah, after I came back from India, I got to take over a very brilliant and large general practice in Bethesda, Maryland. And the medicine there was amazing because we had the National Institute of Health, the
Yeah.
Naval Hospital where the president gets taken care of. All these young doctors were moonlighting, and as a GP there, just had incredible care. So I had this one patient. When you're a young doctor, you pick people up from the emergency room that don't have a doctor.
Yes.
So this man was admitted. He not old. He was in his 50s. He'd had a heart attack. I'll call him Mr. V. And so I got to know him in the coronary care unit. And we had Harris Kenner, who was an excellent cardiologist. So he was calling the shots, taking care of them. I was doing, because I've always believed in the biopsychosocial model. So I would busy myself with the psychosocial. Harris Kenner's taking care of the biology. We were a good team. We appreciated and respected one another. So I got to know his family, his wife, and her sister. They were very serious Christians. And their main concern was that he not die having not accepted Christ. Well, he wanted no part of that. He was a crusty little guy. He had an exterminator company, and he was the salt of the earth. He was the guy that would get up at 2 a.m. and help you with your toilet.
Yep.
And competitive with his sons. And so we got to know one another in the coronary care unit. Those days, we didn't have any procedures to fix the heart like we do. So it was just time. So he was supposed to rest in the hospital for a couple of 3 weeks. So once he left the coronary care unit, he was stable, but he couldn't sit still. He was a man of action.
Yeah.
And so he was the guy that someone came to visit him. He wanted to get up and move chairs around, which would freak out the nurses. And Harris Kenner said, John, we should sedate him, okay? We should just snow him with Valium for a week, because otherwise he's going to have another heart attack because his heart's not healed. It takes a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So I was a confident young doctor. I said, no, I'll talk to him. We'll talk it out. And there's another heart attack right there in the hospital, back in the coronary care unit. Now he's breaking all the records for shocking resuscitations back. And during this period, he tells me, Doc, if I'm really damaged and I'm not going to be able to live my life, please let me go. I'm not afraid to die. It was very powerful. And he really meant it. It wasn't, and I was taken by that, like curious. So he did. He survived all that. And then he described these beautiful near-death experiences, and I got interested in that and read about it. And it was very interesting because he didn't have any fear at all. But his life was very frustrating because he was a man of action. I was always encouraging him to develop some, because having been in India, I had a meditative practice. And I said, look, I spend time in that peaceful place that you saw, you felt something. I don't know, not a place, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happens when people die.
Yeah.
I don't speculate. But I said, why don't you I can teach you a practice. You could learn to know. So finally, he had gallbladder surgery. He did well with it. And then he had another heart attack. So now I go to see him in the afternoon before I go home, which is rare. I always visited him in the morning. And I went in the afternoon, not to figure out anything about his care, because Harris Kenner took care of that very ably, much better than me. And the coronary care nurses, they're amazing.
Yeah.
And they loved him. He was like their favorite, because no one had ever survived all those cardiac arrests. So I go to see him in the late afternoon before my way home. And I know it's a social visit. So I come in, how you doing? We're very friendly. And he goes, Doc, now I've had this other heart attack. Am I going to be able to do more? Because he's very frustrated by his inactivity. He just can't do that much. And I look at him and I realize, oh my God, maybe he's approaching understanding his mortality. And I go, no, Mr. V, no. You're not going to be able to do as much as you were doing because you have more damage to your heart, and it doesn't repair such that you can do more.
Yes.
And he looks at me and he says, so this inner peace stuff that you talk about, really think that's part of life, purpose of life, in part? I said, yeah. I didn't realize he'd ever even heard that. He said, tell me about that. So the next minute or two, what came out of me was just pure inspiration and intuition. He just took it in like a child drinking water. He just took it in so deeply. And it was like, wow, I felt really happy for that. Went home, got a call from the nurses at midnight. Doc, you got to come in. What is it? It's Mr. V. I said, why are you calling me? I don't come into the hospital to call the shots. Call Harris Kenner. No, you have to come in.
Oh,
Like, okay, what's this? So I come in and there's 3 or 4 nurses standing there looking really pale. It's like scared. I go, what? They go, Mr. V is gone. I said, oh, what happened? You know how they sit there looking at the monitors those days? And they said, well, we saw his heart stopped and he's gone. What did you do? What did Harris Kenner suggest? Pin drop silence. He didn't do anything. Pin drop silence. I took a big breath and I thought, huh, do you remember Mr. V asked you if he was really damaged very badly, you would let him go?
yes.
And you had that conversation in the afternoon? I didn't have this saying in my head, but okay, so he was good to go. And these nurses somehow, intuitively, felt that, knew that. So I congratulated them. They were so relieved because, oh my God.
One of the things that people, the average people, don't understand is how brutal CPR and chest compressions are. And while they're fighting for death, that's why I have an advanced directive in place. I don't want anything done to me for any reason. I have chronic pain from years of nursing, and I don't want to continue life with pain as I get older. And it's just people need to understand that I don't want to have people prodding me, breaking my ribs, putting tubes down my throat, putting a catheter in, an IV in, trying to keep me alive, and I'm just gonna be miserable. And some people choose that, and I respect that, but I wanna go peacefully. I don't want to have strangers hanging around my bed all with all these bright lights and noises and yelling, and people don't understand that when they decide that they want to continue to fight because it's not gonna be a quality of life even if they do survive.
That's the key thing. That's what I tell people. Look, if you're really, and people that, have had expertise in this and written about it, simple conversation because generally the person is going out, so you can't talk to them. And maybe they have events but if you gather their family members quickly and say, look, let me ask you a question. Has this person, your loved one, been enjoying life? Have they been looking forward to things, the birth of their granddaughter, whatever it is, and they really want to live? Okay, so let's give it a go. Maybe they'll survive this with intensive care. Maybe they won't. If they've been miserable and been murmuring about, get out of here, this is not good yet, I guaranteed if they survive the resuscitation, they're going to be worse.
Yes,
Because
they
the
are.
body doesn't like all that stuff. Sometimes
it
people
doesn't.
think there's some magic in medicine that was just whatever. Then, they'll be in intensive care and then they'll be bouncing around. No, they're going to be worse because the
Yeah,
body doesn't like all that stuff that you described. So that's
exactly.
a simple conversation.
It's
So
it's a simple conversation that people, like you, people can only cope with so much, and denial is such a strong coping strategy people use so that they don't have to face reality, and it's really hard for them, and I see the struggle every day with my caregivers and their family members.
at least if it's just a simple and just these are the facts, okay? If this person survives this resuscitation, their quality of life will be worse than it was. So if it's already bad, Mr. V, okay, his life was already very frustrating. He just every day was a frustration for him of not being able to do all the activities he wanted to do. And he wasn't someone that could just sit still and not do anything, so to speak. So for him, it was his choice. This is a good time to go. And
Yeah.
somehow he managed it.
Managed to, yeah. I
And
believe people have that
with
power.
the support, certainly me, but of the support of these unknowing nurses. Somehow not unknowing in the sense that they're ignorant, but
Yes,
they didn't have that conversation.
they did.
Or maybe they did. Actually, I didn't ask them. Did he request that you guys let him go? I wonder. Because even then, they were guilty of a dereliction of duty,
Yes.
you
It's
know,
called
and they were
abuse.
afraid they were going to be punished for it.
Yeah, yeah,
They were afraid I was going to be angry. What? You didn't do anything
yeah.
to resuscitate my patient? You just let him die? Are you kidding? They were ready for that. But fortunately, I didn't feel that at all.
There are times when you have in those days, because I graduated in '74 from nursing school, we had an opportunity. We bathed the patients, we cared for them, we talked to them, we knew them. We knew everything about them and their life after a while when you have them in for a while. And somebody like your Mr. V, is it?
Yeah,
I'm
Mr. V.
sure they had conversations with them, and people, as they start to decline, have this feeling of they're just tired. Their spirits are tired. They may want to live, but their body says no, and they don't enjoy eating, they're having problems walking, they're falling, whatever it is. Or like Mr. V, his heart gave out every time he tried to do something that he wanted. His spirit was willing, but his body says, "Oh, hell no." Nurses, because I've seen this over decades too, where a person will code and they're not a DNR, and we call it a slow code. It's just compassion to get there to them because you just don't want to put them through all that. And I think that's honoring a person's wishes. Now it's impossible to do because nurses don't have that interaction. They don't get to know people. The patients are in and out so fast. It's the PCPs and nurse practitioners.
That's really sad, but I have a hopeful thought about that because I've seen that too, and I know that, and it's extremely sad. But let's say now AI is all the rage, and AI is very powerful, and robotics are very amazing. I was listening to a report of this robot that can do the good part of gall surgery, the really delicate stuff,
Yes.
dissecting really small things better than human beings. So
Yeah.
it's, wow, that's pretty good. And think about it in terms of diagnosis and treatment protocols. You feed this giant intellect that has read and studied everything, has all the information, and it's just information, and then
Yeah.
comes up and says, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this is likely diagnosis, this is the treatment that would be recommended, and this is a study that was just done in France, which says that this particular treatment is a whole lot better than the other ones, and there you've got it. Okay, so great. So that all this intellectual work that doctors do, which we're more or less good at, some are really gifted, some are really slow. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. But all of a sudden, you got all this intellectual work done, and even some of the delicate surgical things, or even nursing care, delicate stuff,
Yeah.
and that frees up us for the human part, for really getting to understand people, having compassion, empathy, understanding. All of a sudden, the human abilities there's more time for them. So that's my little hopefulness.
I hope you're right, but I feel that with social media and the younger generations aren't learning how to communicate very well at all unless they're doing it on text and stuff. And it's very sad because and again, I'm going to come back to my generation of fathers, the generation before mine, my dad's and stuff, they didn't talk about anything. You didn't talk about being sick. You didn't talk about, in fact, my mom had lung cancer. I was 17. My dad, I'm the oldest of four. I was the one that took care of her, and he wouldn't let us talk about her cancer or death or dying or anything. And it's plagued me to this day. That's why I'm so open and honest about, you're going to die. How are we going to do it? You're going to go the easy way or the hard way. Not in those words, but
That's well put.
you have a choice.
Yeah, no, you have choices. We always have choices. And that's I think the core of humanness is choice, that we have choice, and that we can have the wisdom. We inherently have wisdom, and we can connect to that wisdom and make choices from wisdom. A friend of mine, a very wise friend, my teacher from way back from 50 years in India, recently said, a lot of time people have made promises that your wisdom can't keep.
Yes.
You have made promises that your wisdom can't keep. So we want to do things that are just not in tune with. And you were talking about, look, I'm 82 and people admire my curiosity and but I have to stop every once in a while and think, John, you're thinking like you're 40 or 50. You think about your life like you have 20 years. No, think like you have 10 years left. Okay. It's more realistic.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will be
Yeah.
92. Okay, so far people ask me, how are you doing? I say, I feel well. And fortunately, I don't have any deadly diseases yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had a client of mine in New Jersey. His mother turned 104.
Wow.
She still lives alone and she has 7 hours of home care come in. She's still a social butterfly at 104. And the nurse and me, I say to them, okay, does she have an advance directive in place? Because I'm working with
Yeah.
the kids, the adult children.
Yeah.
And they said, We haven't put it in writing." I said, "What are you waiting for?" And then I also explained, if she doesn't want these things, then you absolutely have to I suggested a pulse, a physician-ordered life-sustaining treatment. I said, "Because if you keep that, they will not do CPR on her. So if the aid is there during and she passes out or becomes weak or falls or even the aid finds her, if she calls 911, if they have that pulse, they're not gonna perform CPR. They'll acknowledge it, but they won't do that with just the DNR. They have to do the full code." And they went up there for her birthday, for her 104th birthday. And by the way, she doesn't want anyone to know how old she is. I love it. My grandmother was that way at 98 too. Yeah, God forbid we know how old she is. They got her a pulse because she said, "That's good. That I wanna stay in my home as long as I can, and I don't want all that stuff." So they put the paperwork. But at 104, I'm thinking, "Oh, Lord have mercy." I have 80-year-olds such as yourself that don't have anything in place, and I'm like, "Oh, Olive, let me help you." And that's we're talking about conversations. How can caregivers have meaningful conversations about end of life planning and death or even goodbye conversations?
Well, look, let's go back to Kubler-Ross. And she was the champion of talking to people about dying. And she came up with the stages of dealing with that, the denial, the anger, the bargaining, the preparatory depression, and then the acceptance. Okay, I'm going to go. And she just had the courage to just talk to people, just without an agenda. See,
Yeah.
I think that's the problem, particularly with healthcare people. We have agendas.
Yes.
So we approach people with an agenda. If we approach people just out of kind curiosity, what do you feel about dying?
Yeah.
You might be surprised. Well, how would you like to navigate it? That's why I put navigating the last chapter, navigating. How would you like to navigate this? What do you want? What don't you want? But just a conversation, just a naive conversation, not with an agenda. And I think the problem is, I think that as healthcare people, we always want to fix things.
Guilty. I
Of
want to
course.
prepare them. You got to plan ahead. You want to be in control till your end. And so let me tell you what you need to put in place. And
Right.
that's hard.
Yeah. So if it's more of an open-ended conversation in which you're just curious
Yes.
about what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what's their experience, what do they understand, then things will come out. And then when they're like, huh, yeah, so you mean they might just throw me into intensive care? Huh. No, I don't think I would like that. Okay, so now you have your opening. Okay, let's put a post in place so that you have that there
I encourage
officially.
my family caregivers that I work with to because so many of them are afraid to talk about anything with their parents. And I
Mm,
say, ask them to help you. Hey, I'm getting older. I want to put some things in place. What do you think about this? And
good one.
try to get them to go it from help me to help plan for my end of life time. And
Yeah,
I love really encourage them to go. Now, I want to
I
ask,
agree.
they really do. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to ask you in your book, you've mentioned funeral and estate planning as acts of love. And I am in total agreement of that. So, how do
Yes.
you recommend people begin having those conversations without fear or resistance?
I think it just, look, everyone's different. And the resistance to have that, which, and you're absolutely right. We had a whole seminar about this, and there's a lot being written about how to bring up these subjects with, and the resistance is more of the younger people not wanting to talk to the older people
Yeah.
who do want to talk about it. But the younger people, no, don't go there. That's very dark. That's terrible. It's okay. Let me just tell you something, darlings. Someday I am going to die, and I want to know what you guys are going to do. And if you're not going to tell me what you're going to do, then, I'm giving all my money to the Red Cross.
That'll get a lot of reactions.
Really? Yeah, really. Because you guys don't want to help, but the Red Cross will, or my local hospice will.
I'd like to discuss the role hospice plays in helping people achieve a peaceful death. What are some common misconceptions? And Lord knows there's a lot of them. Would you like to clear up for us?
One we had talked about before is that
Yeah.
somehow people think that hospice is going to come and they're going to facilitate your dying quickly. And
Yeah.
I say, come on, that's not a good economic model. Okay. They get paid while you're alive. And so they have no motivation to quicken your departure. Okay. That's one big concept. Or they're just going to come and they're going to hook you up to morphine and just take you out. No, that's not what they're.
Grateful if they did that. They don't do that. I'm bad.
Yeah. They would like to help you die comfortably.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they're really good at giving the medicines that make things easier.
Easier. Yes. Exactly. Yes. I have had several patients that didn't want any medications because they wanted to be awakened as much as possible as they were leaving. And we respect that. But there's others that are in such pain and agony. The
Yeah.
medications help them have a more peaceful.
And even the ones that want to be as conscious as possible. There's a story in the book of a woman who was just brilliant and profoundly conscious and just enjoyed life up to the last seconds, so to speak. And her husband took her home. She had chronic kidney disease and her body was just losing it. And then she had a fall and she had a broken rib and she went into the hospital and I went to see her in the hospital. She asked me to come and see her. I wasn't her doctor. My partner was her doctor, but she wanted me to come. She had expertise at end of life. So it was an amazing journey over a few days in which she just said, I'm not going to do any more dialysis. And her husband freaked out. It was like, but then you're going to die. She said, I know. So that's why I came in to talk to her and see, was she saying this because she was just in pain or disappointed? Not at all. She was as tough as they come in terms of dealing with her problems. She said, no, it's just time for me to go. It was so profound. It was like going back to Mr. V. It was like, yeah, no, this body is just worn out. And actually looked at some of the results of her imaging studies. I couldn't believe that she could stand up. Her bones were they were gone. Most of her spine. She just had such a wonderful, fierce, compassionate, passionate desire to live, that she was living in a body which was so worn out. But now that was the end. And we're sitting on a Friday afternoon and she says to her husband, and we talked about hospice and yeah, whatever is going to make her comfortable at home. And then of course you get a hospital bed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of goodies that come with hospice. So they knew that. But she says to her husband, I want to be in my bed tonight. And it's Friday afternoon and she's in the hospital. She's just finished getting blood transfusions.
Yes.
And she wanted blood transfusion because she knew she'd feel better. She was
I've
playing,
seen that.
yeah. In terms of doing it her way, this was a South American princess. She's going to do it her way. And so he looks at me and he goes and say, I said, do it. Just
Yeah.
do it. So there she is at home that evening. And I think it was 3 days. She was home and she was on Zoom with her relatives in South America, resolving problems, long standing problems, and welcoming guests in the home and just having a brilliant experience of such profound peace. I was amazed by it. And then there was a point where her body started getting jittery, and she wasn't in pain, but she was getting jittery. Her heart was unsteady. And I said to her husband, so this is the time to call the hospice nurse. But she doesn't want anyone in the home other than her friends and family. I said, I know. But this is going to be her new best friend because
Exactly.
they're going to be able to give a little bit of benzo, a little bit of more, just to keep her body comfortable,
Yep.
not to interfere with her consciousness, not to interfere with her life, but really to support her life.
Exactly.
So I've never said that before, but that's the way to look at it. That hospice is there to support your life, for it to be comfortable till the very end.
Exactly. When we're talking about this, there's a new trend right now where there's death doulas and end-of-life specialists now.
Yes.
And I have a story of a gentleman in England in his late 80s, early 90s. His name is John, a family friend. And John decided, I'm getting old, I'm getting challenged walking. I'm going to have a life celebration. So for his 89th birthday, he decided he'd invite everybody. He had such a good time, and this is such a British thing. He says, because he got so much booze, he says, I'm going to do it again next year. But he's making connections with the people in a way that is meaningful to him, so that when he does go, there's not going to be sadness, but thoughts of John went out with a house full of booze.
It's the Irish wake.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. My wife's father, when he was seeing the end of his life, I forget what was wrong with him, but anyway, he went out. He got his kids to go out with him and find the place where they would have the celebration. And he wanted to arrange what the music would be. He was just preparing it all. He wasn't going to be there, but he wanted it to be nice for people.
Well, I actually
Celebration.
encourage that, because I think that if people are going to want to plan their death, they should also, if they feel like it, plan their funeral and everything else out, because that's their way of having control till the very last, even after their last breath. It's their last act of being in control of their life. So I really like that. I do.
Yeah, no, I think that's very good.
So, Dr. Horton, if you could leave our listeners with one message about death, caregiving, or the journey of life, what would it be?
Trust and feel the goodness of life to the very end, and support that in your loved ones or in your patients. Just look how to support their appreciation and enjoyment of life, and take away the things that interfere with that as best you can, like pain and like the instability of the body. And that's where hospice comes in, like the last story I told you, because hospice should not be an afterthought. It should be like, okay, so let's provide this as necessary. Obviously, there are people that I won't tell you another story because we're at the end of the time. I got that.
I'm always up for a good story.
This is a story then. This woman, she had breast cancer. She was not that old. She was maybe in her 60s or 70s, let's say, and a very attractive woman. And she went through the ordinary treatment for it, some chemo, some radiation, and she was good for a while, and then it roaring back, and it was all over her body. And so she was looking at very strenuous chemo, and she didn't want to do it. She's in the hospital, and she's in the process of just getting a tune-up and getting ready to go home and not do the therapy. And she puzzled me because she'd been divorced for a long time. I knew her son really well. And she had this boyfriend, this good friend of hers, and he kept on wanting to come to the hospital to see her, and she was saying no. And finally, one of the nurses explained to me, she says, she won't see him until she's properly made up. She doesn't want to see in the ugliness of her illness. She wants to see him looking good. It's good for her.
Yes.
So she leaves the hospital, and then I lost track of her. I wasn't her oncology team. And her son comes to see me, and he says, she died. I said, oh, really? Did she go back to the hospital? She said, no. She just invited us all for a Easter lunch,
Mm-hmm.
and she was preparing it. She had help. She was a little weak. She was okay. We had a lovely lunch. And she said, I'm going to take a nap. That's it. She's gone.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
Doesn't always happen that way, but I'm glad it's
No.
her. God bless her. That
No,
was
but sometimes it does. And I don't know. This is a question I have. And maybe you could help me with this. Do you think that there's a point where it's hard not to personify death, that death comes and says, are you ready to go? And you could say, yeah, I'm ready to go. Or no, thank you. And you fight on. I wonder.
you know what? I
if
wonder
there's a
of that
choice
too,
in there.
because I've seen people recover from amazing things. But my experience as a young girl, my mom just left the oncologist's office. Louise, you beat cancer. I was just a freshman in nursing school, literally only in September. It's December. We're getting ready for Christmas break. And my mom is so excited we're going to go shopping to finish up Christmas and shopping and stuff. And as she's leaving the oncologist's office, she's getting the elevator to go downstairs. And on the way down, she throws a pulmonary embolism and dies that night in intensive care. So I have mixed feelings about that. God was ready for her, whether she was ready or not.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
I don't know either.
I don't know how much
She
choice
didn't
is
have a
involved.
choice, but I don't think we always do. So,
No, clearly not. No.
Dr. Horton, please tell us about your book one more time. The title, I will put it in our page that we create. Good to go.
It's good to go. 5 understandings to navigate a peaceful and elegant last chapter of life.
Great.
It's on Amazon.
I will have a link on our page to it so people can find you. I think it's
Great.
a powerful book. To my family caregivers out there, you are the most important part of the family caregiving equation. Without you, it all falls apart. So please learn to be gentle with yourself. Practice self-care every day because you are worth it.